Hi, welcome to our Lunch and Learn on mental health, specifically what it means to heal within the Black community. My name is Fatima. I am the founder of Collective 365, and I am so excited to be having this discussion today. But before we get into that, I want to do a brief overview of what it means when I say Collective 365. So Collective 365 is a network of community conscious individuals who want to celebrate and invest in Black and Brown communities in DC, Maryland, Virginia through grant funding and capacity building. So this year in 2022, we are trying to create $35,000 in grant funding, and we give money to individuals, groups, businesses, and nonprofits who are just trying to do the work in Black and Brown communities. So if you're interested, please use the links up above and connect with us. But now enough about us, want to get into the meat and the heart of the discussion. So panelists, if you could say your name, your pronouns, and tell us how you got into like the mental health space.
Ladies first.
My name is Na'Keora Bryant, better known as Key. I have been in the mental health space for about 5 years now. Initially, I started on the philosophy field thinking that I was going to be a lawyer so I can serve justice. Then the philosophy turned into me trying to understand child development and how trauma affects you as an adult. I'm currently a clinical psychology student, and I am a second-year ABA therapist.
Hey everyone, my name is Nnamdi Nwaigwe. I'm 26 years old. Currently, I'm living in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been in the mental health arena for maybe about 3 years now. My road to understanding and being an advocate for mental health was kind of, a different one. Didn't study psychology. Wasn't really a person that talked about mental health prior to 3+ years. When I started like embracing and understanding mental health was when I went through one of my darkest valleys, one of my lowest points in life. And that was when I didn't achieve a dream that I had set on for my whole entire life, which was being a professional athlete. That kind of took a very, very sharp turn in my life and put me in a position that I've never felt before. And through that, it was definitely a weird space for me, but being inquisitive, I just wanted to learn, why it happened, what I did. And it was because I was suppressing a lot of emotions. I let a lot of things control me. And my fight to becoming healed and becoming well was just understanding my emotions. So the more research I did, uncovered that, the importance of prioritizing your mental health is very, very important. And I just wanted to be able to kind of create in a world, create an environment, or be a person that people can look up to or look to and say, hey, you know what, it is important to prioritize mental health. So I want to do my due diligence and understanding it. That way I can talk to people that look like me. That way we can learn to be mentally and physically well and be the best versions of ourselves.
Well, snaps to both of you. So like, I'm really, really excited because I think being able to have two different backgrounds will make for like a really rich conversation. So I'm going to jump into it by asking you, like, I know both of you came to this space for different reasons, but how do you define healing? Like, what does that mean? And then what does it mean to use therapy or mental health services to achieve healing? Because sometimes I think people have separate conversations about that, but I do think that they can be connected if you wanted them to be.
Gotcha.
Okay. So healing to me is a process of accepting situations for what they are, identifying and understanding its cognitive, social, and emotional effects on your mental, spiritual, social, and physical being, then choosing peace as a response. So it's something that you do alone, but it definitely requires accountability partners. So.
Yeah, I really like that. I think healing to me, if I can kind of sum it up, I think is more so progression and not perfection. When we look at this, the body in general, right? We think about how the body heals itself from diseases, and it's because it truly understands the disease. It builds the right cell to, you know, protect your body, and then you heal and you can kind of be proactive and become immune to it, right? And I kind of look at that similar to like our emotions, and just really understanding, you know, the pain, understanding why we feel the way that we do. I think, you know, like, and that's not clarity, because people will say, oh, healing through a relationship is like that last like text or that last call with that person that hurt you, to understand why they did what they did. But it's past that, you know, healing is bigger than that. Healing is just understanding and just knowing that, you know, it's progression. Healing is knowing that, you know, you're not going to be perfect the next day. You're not going to be back to yourself, but it's like a marathon that you have to embark on, a journey that you have to embark on to, you know, fully understand yourself at its core. So I think that's what healing is.
Thank you both. So one of the things, well, two things that jump out for me, Key, when you said choosing peace, and then Nnamdi saying it's a journey and knowing that it's not going to be perfect. Because I think peace, sometimes people equate that with it being perfect or like being smooth or like not having. But I think peace is being able to accept that it'll have its peaks and valleys, and it's an ongoing choice to heal. So I appreciate you both for saying that. What do you think are some misconceptions about healing and trauma? Like, what prevents folks from healing or seeking support and services?
You want to go?
You got it. Go ahead.
Also, your shirt is dope. I definitely should have wore something, you know, in front of this whole vibe, but I'm not that.
Thank you.
I think one of the misconceptions, especially as a Black male, right? That, you know, to feel trauma, like trauma is for like the emotionally weak. And I do not think that. I think trauma can impact you in various ways. Trauma can impact you if you're a strong person, if you're a person that, you know, is a father figure, because trauma starts when you're a child, and trauma builds up as you suppress those emotions and whatnot. So I think for people to kind of point fingers at others and say, hey, like, he's going through this depression, he's going through this anxiety, he's going through this trauma because he's weak, or because he doesn't have any backbone. I think that's so false. You look at people that go to the army or the military, no one's ever going to call them weak, right? No one's going to ever tell, like, the fact that you're going to, you know, sacrifice your life in war, in combat, to protect your country, does not make you emotionally or physically weak. However, people can come back with, you know, PTSD and whatnot, right? And that's stuff that literally impacts us and goes beyond the things that we can kind of see, but only stuff that we can kind of feel. So I don't like the narrative that, you know, trauma and healing is for the emotionally weak, because we all go through it. I do truly believe that is the way is about people surrounding and how people have seen to kind of interact or go through these issues allows them to be better in one area than most, and some areas are more showing than not. But yeah, I'll stop right there.
I like how you said trauma starts in your childhood, because that's definitely very, very true. One of the most common misconceptions I hear is that there's no point in healing from the past or revisiting past traumas because it was in the past. But people don't understand that trauma definitely causes neurobiological changes in your brain functioning. And this goes to your cognition and your physical functioning. Like, it literally makes you who you are, and how you respond to it definitely impacts that as well.
And like, I
Go ahead.
I can add, you know, being a little personal here. Like, I saw therapy probably for like one of the first times in my life about 1.5 years ago. And it was because I felt like I couldn't feel, right? I felt like there's a lot of stuff that happened around me, from deaths in my family. I said, like, the only thing that has ever made me cry to the point of where I was at my lowest was football. But prior to that, you know, deaths in my family, friends passing away, you know, I didn't really feel that type of emotion that everyone else around me was feeling. You know, like the tears, the screaming, the stuck in your room. And I literally always had to look at myself in the mirror and say, like, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I feel these emotions? Because I truly love these people. I'll do anything for these people. It hurt me. They're on my mind. But when I looked at myself in the mirror, no tears fell down from my face. And I really learned that, you know, whether it's trauma or how I was raised, I grew up with my dad being one of the strongest people that I knew. And my dad saw his grandma pass away, his sister pass away, his brothers pass away, his friends pass away. And I had never really seen him cry. And I felt like as the man of the house, you had to be strong for us, you know, even though he was hurting. And maybe he cried behind closed doors, right? But ultimately, like my dad being one of my role models, I looked up to him and saw how he, you know, reacted to all this stuff that was going on in his life. So I thought that that was maybe the reason why I never felt the way that I felt. So you know, when you think about like, and when you pinpointed to where that started is when I was a child. So I do think it does start when you're a child and whatnot. And the more you suppress it, the worse it gets.
Thank you for sharing that. For a few reasons. One, like I know sometimes to Keith's point of like going in the past, like reliving that is just as painful sometimes as being in the moment. So thank you for that. And the second thanks is because we sometimes will look and be like, I'm just like this. Like it is what it is. Kind of to Keith's point of like, why go in the past? But I think your story is a reflection of like, you know, there's a reason for everything. And so when we don't provide spaces for healing, for grieving, um, even though your dad never came up to you and said, "Don't cry," um, you know, we learn by seeing and doing or not doing. And so I think that was a really great example of like why having these conversations, why being able to see different ways of processing, um, and it matters. It makes a difference. So for you, Nnamdi, you can speak to personal experience or professional, and keep same for you. But what do you think? Want to like dig a little deeper since we started this conversation of like, what do you think are the barriers to people like healing? Like you both were saying like not wanting to go in the past or not having those examples, but like what can we do to overcome those barriers then? Like how does one person like decide like I know you said, oh, a year after you decide to go to therapy, like one, not everybody can access therapy, but if you can, like what if y'all could speak to like what does that look like what are things people should be doing or saying to get that kind of help?
There's a few things. So like you hit it, so you stole the words right out of my mouth with
Right.
like the access to like mental health access, right? We kind of see that the way society sees it, it's a privilege, right? But you know, being able to prioritize and receive the resources for your mental health is a right inherent to all citizens of the world, right? And I think it's terrible that you don't have the access to care, especially in the Black community. Another thing is more so along the lines of how many, you know, Black therapists and psychologists and, you know, counselors there are. So shout out to Key. I know she's doing her thing. And, you know, we're grateful for people like her and you, Fatima, for like creating these spaces. But I think the stat shows about like 4% of all therapists are Black, and psychologists are Black. And I know a lot of Black people have had traumatic experiences with a therapist who doesn't relate to them, you know, whether they were of another ethnicity, race, and because it's so limited of people that look like us. So that traumatic experience of a blue collar approach where someone doesn't really understand them, it kind of shuns them and makes it seem like, hey, like I'm never going to get the help that I deserve. People tell me that, you know, therapy is the thing that's going to help me. You know, I paid, I maybe didn't have insurance, or maybe I did have insurance and I took that leap of faith and I don't feel better. And now it's like, hey, now I know that I'm broken. I know that I can't be fixed. So I think more representation in the field is so important and so vital. And another thing is just to kind of make it seem as if it's normal, right? One of my biggest objectives and goals to kind of shatter the stigma associated with mental health especially for Black people, especially for Black males, because most of us are just taught to like my dad did it indirectly, and I know he didn't do it to hurt me at all. I know he just did it because maybe that's how he was raised. He was raised to just to go get it, and we're just raised to kind of like hinder those emotions and suppress them. And mind you, like we're all battling with something inside. So just kind of creating a space where we can all communicate with one another, freely express ourselves, and just make it seem cool and natural and normal, right? Yeah. Me talking about my stresses in life shouldn't really be something that should just happen every once in a while. Me talking about my stresses should be a common conversation. I always try to compare, and I'll stop right here, to like those deep card combos that you have with somebody, where you just kind of just letting it all out and expressing yourself. And after that, you may go on Twitter and be like, card conversation greater than sign, right? Because, you just were able to express yourself on a whole nother level. And now you feel at peace. Now you feel better. So just making it be cool, making it normal, and just giving more representation in the field. I think that's how we break those barriers.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with the representation. I was going to say judgment, lack of resources, and lack of self-awareness. A lot of times we don't know that we need help, or because of the judgment that you get from asking for help or crying for help, or the judgment that you see on social media. It's a very evident cry for help, and people are making it into a joke and just dismissing it. They're crazy or whatever the case may be. The stigma behind Black mental health and needing help it's a lot. So I think some of the things that you can do, honestly, is be honest with yourself. If you need help, ask for it. And I do understand that there's only 5% of people who look like us giving therapy, but there is help out there. And there's also now brave spaces where you can come to, like the Addy app that Nnamdi created. It's launching in 3 days, I can't remember, but it's launching soon. And then, yeah, you said how many days?
June 26th, so what, Thursday, Friday, 2-3 days.
All right, okay, so June 26th, the Addy app is launching, and it's a marketplace, and we have literally Black, Hispanic, anybody who needs help, you can come there, and there's a person for you, for sure.
Appreciate the shout out.
No problem.
So when you said, be self-aware and like kind of know that, one, what you're feeling is okay. Like it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. And then two, just being able to ask for help. For those who aren't able to get that formal therapy, whether it's because of lack of representation, lack of funds, or the stigma or combination, like what are other resources that people can access to heal? Like what does that look like?
I think it's there's two ways. I don't want to kind of pinpoint on me, but one is just kind of surrounding yourself with, the right people, following the right pages on your social media channels. For women or men, Black Girls Therapy, all of these empowering, positive platforms that are, expressive and create a space where people can communicate and express themselves in a healthy manner. And that's one of the reasons why, I'm not trying to shine light on something that I created, but that's one of the reasons why I created Addy, a brave space to experience, embrace, and explore all of your emotions, because I do understand the barriers that comes with access to mental health care. So I wanted to create a social networking platform, which I feel like in this age, in this digital age, people can kind of communicate and do three things: research on the mental health topics pertaining to you, your loved ones, and society in general. Two, which is near and dear to my heart, being able to socialize with people with relatable experiences, right? Because you want to be able to you want to be able to see people that walked in your shoes. You want to be able to inspire. You want to be able to be shown that you're not alone in your struggle and connect on common ground. And lastly, something that Key touched on the ability to receive the help, counsel, and treatment for your life-altering or life-defining issues or needs. And that's why I created the mental health marketplace, where you can find, therapists, psychologists, life coaches, fitness and coaches that match what you want to do, bring the positivity and best version of you out yourself. Being able to, give people a list of resources that way, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's transgender, whether it's homelessness, job resources, giving them resources, because those may be the things that they need, rather than just dial 911. And then being able to be able to click a button and get them connected with a licensed professional as soon as possible, for them to vent and express themselves and figure out what the next best step is for them in regards to therapy or counseling and coaching. And that's really why I created Addie, because I understand, it's hard. The access to this is very hard and trivial and sometimes untrustworthy. So building a community of people that just want the best for themselves and want the best for others, I think is the best way to do it. So that's truly why I created the platform.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And, underscoring that, access is tough. And, there's another layer of trauma when you have to educate the helper to help you.
Exactly.
I want to actually piggyback off of what you said, the community, unity within the community. Healing starts there. To heal alone or to heal in general, you have to be surrounded by people who are like-minded. We have to respect one another, protect one another, and just understand that everyone's story is different, yes, but ultimately for the Black community, we're all running the same race in a world that condemns us for the color of our skin. So make sure your friends are speaking life into you. Make sure that you're not investing your time with things that are just negative to your mental, your spiritual, all of that. And yeah, just being exactly who you want to be, but also living in a community where they're inspiring you and lifting you up.
Yes, snaps and claps to that. And that is just so important. I feel like that's the foundation, right? Of yeah, I can have a therapist on the side who's telling me all this stuff, but there's a great example. It's if you take a struggling plant and you put it in a different environment, but it's still the worst environment. It's just a different kind of worse. How can you expect the plant to thrive? And then people would say, oh, well, let's take the plant and put it in a healthy environment. So then the plant grows and it's getting healthy. And I liken that to going to therapy, right? And then they're okay, well, now we're going to put you back in your original environment. And then the plant dies and they're well, why did that happen? They were thriving. They got the nutrients and whatever. And I feel that's the same thing. And I know I'd jacked that analogy up. I can't remember it off the top of my head. The person that told it to me did a great job saying it. But basically, they're back in the environment and then they notice that the plant's not doing as well. The plant didn't die, but it doesn't look like it did when it was in that environment. And for me, I always think about that with therapy. It's if you're doing it in an isolated way, and then I have to go back into that environment that, to Keith's point, they're not uplifting me, they're not speaking life into me, they're not also doing well themselves. It's whoa, what other outcome would you expect from me? So I really, really appreciate you reminding folks that, it can start with just changing your friend group, and family. Another quote I'm about to jack up is you don't get to choose your family, but you do get to choose how your family engages with you, right? So you don't have to take the disrespect from your grandma just because she's your grandma, So thank you for that reminder.
No problem.
All right. So another question I have is, what about the children? So like, is your app, so two questions, is your app available for like under 18? And then Key, like what, I know you do work with youth, like what does that look like? Because my understanding is you need consent of your parents to access therapy, but like what are things that, say if I'm a mentor to a kid, like are there any tips that you could give me to be a support to youth who may be trying to navigate some of these issues?
So I'm going to start by saying, I just tell my children to breathe. That's like the main thing. Remember to breathe, remember to breathe, remember to breathe. Seeing children and being a child that has endured trauma, it's, you take on so many different roles, and it's like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to be a superhuman, I have to be okay, I have to just, you know, push my emotions to the back or whatever, but you never breathe. Breathing is the first step. And then the second step is, for children specifically, you still have so much life to live, and things do get better. It's all a matter of how you choose to respond to it. Write down your goals, write down positive affirmations, write it all out. Like even your negative emotions, write that out, because you're going to be able to look at that and say, wow, I used to be this, or I used to feel this way. But now, you know, you're going to have like a story to tell because you've written it out, and because you've found a way to actually positively respond and deal with your traumas. Breathe is the main thing, though.
Okay. So two things. So to answer your first question, the app is going to be available for 13 plus. We're actually trying to integrate it into a few, we're trying to actually integrate into a few school systems, working with guidance counselors, the community, to kind of onboard these children, get them into, you know, community groups. That way they can be interactive with people that feel, look, and act like them. So that's a pilot that we're going to try to work on in the summer. I've been talking to a lot of people, so definitely want to bring it into fruition prior to 2022. But as of right now, 13 years and older can access the app just as if they could any other social networking app. And then in regards to the children, I think there's a few things. I think it's allowing them to talk and not suppress their emotions, not suppress the things that's on their mind, and giving them a space to speak their mind. Another one is allowing them to trust their intuition, right? Trust how they're feeling, and being able to vocalize that, being able to not think as if like the stuff that's going on in their mind is false or not true, even if they don't understand, but allow them to build off their emotion, and then go talk about it, then express themselves, which then kind of tailors into my third point, which is understanding what hurting trauma is, and then like hurting trauma or hurting feelings, and then also what are the things that heal you. So being able to identify what makes you sad, what makes you angry, what makes you frustrated, what makes you, and then why, right? Because not just what is why, and then you're able to pinpoint those emotions and then build off of that. And that's where you're choosing peace, and you're finding clarity and contentment in those feelings and those emotions. And then, you know, understanding the things that bring you peace, understanding why it brings you peace. And even in chaos, even in mishaps, you can still find peace with it, because you weather the storm and you're able to know, like, this is how I get myself out of this. And I think, you know, in this day and age, life is all about challenges and adversity. And sometimes people are consumed with all of this pressure and chaos. But to be able to understand, like going back with healing, progression and not perfection, is like, okay, I've been here before. I know the things not to do. I know why I will get frustrated. I know how I will get depleted, and now understanding to like turn it around and saying, this is what I won't do. I'll be optimistic. You know, I won't think of myself as less of a human. I won't think of myself as being smaller than the occasion, and just giving yourself that confidence, because you have to be sometimes your biggest supporter. So if you're supporting yourself, supporting your initiative, supporting your path, you know, you can take yourself out, hopefully out out of the situations you deem daunting?
Yes, for all of these gems. I want to like go back and highlight a few that Key said about just like remembering to breathe. Like, woo! Like, I know it sounds like so simple, but like that is huge. And that reflection piece, I think when you were saying being able to acknowledge kind of like this is where I am and being able to look back and say like, hey, I've made progress because even if it's just one step, it's still a step, right? So I think that's really, really encouraging, not just for children, but also for adults. We need those reminders. And I like what both of you were saying of being able to, you know, remind youth that their feelings are valid, their experiences are valid. And Nnamdi, I love what you said about like trusting them. Like, I think sometimes we think like, oh, I know best, I've been around, and you know, and trying to take a step back and unlearn the things that maybe were toxic when we were growing up and apply a different way of doing things with our youth. So I'm excited to see that the app is for 13 and up and that you're connecting with other folks. It is 12:40, so I am going to ask if you have any last words or, you know, any more gems you want to drop before we open it up to folks that are on the call.
Gems. Do I got any kick? Yeah, I know you got gems. You know, we be talking, you be educating me on so much stuff. So if she's not talking, she's just trying to. No. She definitely got gems.
Just one thing that I always tell my friends, I always remind myself, every single thing happens for a reason, okay? You're called for a purpose. Every day that you wake up is a blessing simply because you did not have to wake up, okay? And yes, things may be chaotic and you may not know what's happening 5 minutes from now, but being able to actually live in the moment is a blessing. So there's peace in just that. That's it.
Gotcha.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
It was. So, two things on my end. I always mention it. People make it seem like if I'm a broken record, but I think you gotta really see life as progression and not perfection, and take this whole comparison narrative out of your mind, right? And understanding that your position in life, kind of similar to what Keith said, is, you know, where you need to be in life, what you need to learn, you know, because as a child of God, you just understand he's so intentional with the things that he does, right? You know, he puts you through things in order to achieve the things that you need to achieve in life. You know, you can always look back 2020 and say, wow, I had to go through this to get to this point. I had to go through this to achieve what I'm achieving. And I have like a quote that I literally tweeted the other day. Said the Goliath you are facing is showing you that you are bigger on the inside than they are on the outside, right? You see these problems and you tell yourself like, goodness gracious, like I cannot, this is overbearing, overwhelming, but you got to understand that you have to dig deep and know that, you know, God made you with so much intentionality, and, you know, everything that you have is in you, and surrounding yourself with the right people, learning from mistakes, being wise and progressing every day, not, you know, being perfect the next day. It's how you're going to overcome, you know, the battles that you face and whatnot. And you will show Goliath that you're bigger, right? David did. So that's what I'll have to say about that.
Yes, to the scripture. I love that.
I'm here for these last gems. I love how y'all wait to the end. But yeah, this was really, really, really personally filling. And I hope that those that are watching the replay will also feel the same. We actually had folks drop off, so we don't have anyone to ask any questions in real time. But I want to just say on behalf of the collective, thank you for what y'all are doing. Key, thank you for being a part of the 5%.
Thank you.
And I hope that all that you are giving out into the world that you're getting, because it's so hard doing that work. But but just know that we see you, we appreciate you. And Nnamdi, thank you for having the vision to create space, right? And partner with, Black therapists such as Key. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And both of you, your willingness to share in this space. Hopefully we can collaborate in the future. And I see there's a question. Hold on. I have a question. What's the question?
Hi, this is Felicia. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can see me in the group chat, but great job, first of all, to all of you guys. That was really powerful. I had a lot of questions, but Fatima, you covered a lot of things. So good job to you. And our lovely panelists, Nnamdi and Key, y'all did amazing. So my question is, I think our generation is doing a really good job of destigmatizing mental health, but it's still kind of hard to talk about trauma and things that we're going through. So Nnamdi, in your app, and then Key, just in your work in general, what are some things that you guys can do to make people feel more comfortable talking about their struggles, mental health in general, trauma, and those sort of things?
Okay. I'll answer first. So one of the things that I do personally, because I realize that my purpose is bigger than me, I understand the life that I lived is not just, for me to keep to myself. The role that I have as a psychologist, as a mentor, as a therapist, I know that I have to be transparent with not only myself, but my clients as well. And not necessarily lean on them, but allow my story to be a living testimony to say, yes, you can go through this, but also there's hope. So I honestly answer whatever questions my clients have as far as traumas and how I've healed and how I've gotten to where I am. And I'm just honestly an open book-ish. So I think that definitely helps my teenagers, and especially it helps my Black teenagers and children to be open and hopeful for the future.
Great response, Key. Piggybacking off that, it's a few things, right? I want to show people that, it doesn't matter, who you are, how much money you make, what you do, how you look, that nobody is invincible to pain, right? I always use the examples of Mac Miller, about how he was just an amazing artist, and he's a person that had a lot of stuff that people kind of were envious or would strive to have in their life, from who he dated, the music he made, how much money he made, the stuff that he around, and it was stated that he had depression, that he was in dark stages, and then sadly he took his life, right? And that was very sad to see. And then people started spreading more awareness to it and started acting reactive to the fact that, hey, what could we have done? But you got to see at the end of the day that we're all going through it. And I think it's important to be very vulnerable. It's important to be your truest self. That way people can open up, because that's inspirational to people. And at the same time, showing that hey, you are going through this stuff. I think a lot of people, shade their appearance with smiles, with the things that they do when they're internally struggling, and to kind of make it more welcoming, to show that that we all need somebody, that we all are going through it, is just to kind of show that, right? And it doesn't have to be overbearing or overtelling, but allow people to know that you're not okay, right? Because it shows the human in you. It shows that these feelings are very regular. And I feel like the way we normalize our feelings and emotions and tragedy, and how we overcome that, is how we build a community of where we can be resilient, where we can thrive in chaos, where our position right now is not the final stage, right? It's just a point. It's a passage of life that we have to get through in order to become the person that we are, in order to inspire the next generation, in order to inspire, the people that are around you and whatnot. So that's what I strive to do, just to kind of be more vulnerable in my truth. And I haven't always been like this, right? Not a lot of people have known my struggles, known what I've gone through. And that's why I'm being more vocal now, and showing how I feel and why I do it, and why I literally created that app, is because I want to kind of create that space and kind of show people, especially like Black men like me, like it's okay to have these emotions. It's okay to feel the way that you feel. I feel like that's the only way we grow. That's the only way that we can be great for our people, right? And because I think that the emotions that we suppress, the trauma that we endure and that we never speak up, it has a direct correlation of how we treat other people, especially Black women. So I want to make sure that we rise up and we do better, not only for ourselves, but for everybody in general.
Thanks, you guys.
Do you have another question? That was a great one.
Right.
Great question.
Actually, I do.
Oh.
So my other question is, how would you guys recommend dealing with like being there for a friend who's expressed to you that they are going through depression or going through a really dark time in their lives? And, most people aren't therapists, so they don't really know how to be there for someone with depression or someone that's really, really struggling. So what are your recommendations for that?
The number one recommendation I have, honestly, ask them, what can I do to help? And when you ask that question, you can offer the help that you can give. Like if you're only available for emotional help, or if you're only able to lend an ear, ask them what help they want. Because a lot of times people are coming to you as a friend, or I know I'll go to my friends and I'll just talk, and it's not because I want anything. It's just because I want someone to hear me and to acknowledge that my feelings are my feelings. You don't have to have an answer for me, but just hear me. And that, I think that's like the main thing. Just ask what they need from you or what they want from you. If you cannot offer it, be honest. Say, I honestly don't know what I can do, but I'm praying for you. Like, don't just shut them down, but, just be honest.
I want to interrupt really quick because Key, that was so important, and I want to underscore it real quick. Boundaries. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be the judge, therapist, lawyer. It's okay to just say hey, this is what I'm capable of doing as far as supporting you, and everything else, I'm happy to connect you with other people, or I'm happy to pray with you or listen to you as you navigate it. But you don't have to take on everything, because if you try to take on everything and you fall short, that's another trauma to somebody. So I just wanted to underscore that whole bit about doing what is in your wheelhouse, what your capacity is so important, and not having all the answers. So thank you, Key, for reminding us that it is okay to say, I can't do that today, but I still love you.
I really like that. I don't know if I can get any better than what Keith said, but kind of to piggyback off it is, don't treat people the way that you would like to be treated, right? Don't treat or handle the situation in a way that, you feel like, hey, if I was going through this, how would I want to be interacted with? How would I want to be comforted? You got to, comfort them the way that they would want to. You got to talk to them the way that they would want to. So just asking them, like what Keith said, are you venting, or do you want feedback, right? Allowing them to express themselves fully. And just and it's very hard, it's very difficult sometimes, someone coming to you with their problems may be a little bit overwhelming, right? So being able to set those boundaries and allow them to pinpoint to resources, words of encouragement, guiding them, and just being there for them as well. Being able to pick up a phone call and checking upon them, just to make sure that showing them that you care and that they're loved, and that this world is so much better with them in it, and just kind of just advocating for a better day for them. So that's what I would say without piggybacking off of the great things that Keith mentioned.
I also want to add to the friends who are going to friends, and you feel like none of your friends have the answers, or none of your friends are able to listen to you or to understand you. That's okay too. Certain people are in your life for certain things, and I have spiritual friends where I can go and I can be like, hey, I need covering, and they're instantly praying. And then I have friends where I can be like, oh, I'm not okay, and they're like, okay, well, I don't know what we're going to do, but if you want to go party or whatever, or, you know, get your mind off of it, we can do that. There's specific friends for different things. And if you don't have a friend that you can go and talk to, then maybe you could find, expand your community and make more friends.
I really like that, and my fault. I can like really relate to that after, you know, going through like my lowest values with football. You know, I love my family to death. They'll do anything for me. I know that they will. But in that situation, they really couldn't communicate to me the way that I wanted to be communicated, right? Their ways, you know, the pat on the back, making sure that, you know, I'm okay. They'll say, hey, everything's okay. God got you. But ultimately, that's not the thing that's gonna really make me feel better. And what Key said really struck me, because what I did to get better was surround myself with people that I feel like have relatable experiences, people that walked in my same shoes, because now they understand and look at that conversation or look at your feelings or look at you as a person totally different. They know exactly how you need to be communicated, right? And I'm a person that, you know, sadly enough, doesn't really want people to pity. I just want people to understand why I feel the way that I feel. And I remember it was a football player who literally went through something very, very similar to me, who someone actually told him to reach out to me, and then he contacted me. And I remember that conversation was one of the best conversations, like a turning point where I felt heard. I felt like I wasn't alone. And it was such a beautiful thing. And my trainer as well, him being a sports fanatic, him understanding my knee injuries and everything, and probably just had insight into like how I was feeling internally. He was able to, you know, display certain stuff that other people weren't able to display, which kind of allowed me to kind of, you know, take off the shield and show more emotions and whatnot. And sometimes it's not the people that you surround yourself on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes it's not your best friend that can really help you, right? It may be just the community. And that's why support groups are so amazing. E-groups are so amazing, because in those support groups, you can connect on common ground and people know exactly what you're going through. People know exactly how you're feeling. That way they can communicate with you better.
That was really, really great. Thank you all so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
Yes, heavy snapping. Or, like, be okay finding a new community. Like, key, yes. Because sometimes, yeah, we're like, oh, I'm my late 20s or my 30s or I'm 40 or whatever. And it's like, I don't want to get new friends. And it's like, nah, Drake wasn't always right. Like, it's okay to have, like, it's okay. So yeah, thank you for that. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I'm gonna do one more time of saying, do you have any other gems before we officially close out? I don't wanna leave any stone unturned.
Just be the best version of you possible every single day and try to put out good in the world, and, you know, let the universe take its course. I think that's how I just try to live my life, you know, trying to impact and inspire, and also listen and care and be there for people. Like my motto is like aspire to inspire, right? Be the person that you wish to see change in the world. Be the person that, you know, other people can look up to. I always kind of make the analogy of motivational videos. You know, people watch emotional videos when they're down, and they can kind of, you know, see the light, see perseverance, see growth. And then those people that are making the motivational videos, they're the inspirers that's helping the people that are in need. And I tell people it's always cyclical. One day you're an aspirer, one day you're an inspirer. So just know when it's your time, when to listen, when to speak, but just try to be a positive person, be optimistic, and just put good out in the world. And, you know, the world will be a better place if you do that and practice that every single day.
I love that. But and also with that, hold yourself accountable. Okay, that's it. Just hold yourself accountable. Okay. It may not have been your fault that this has happened to you, but you are responsible for how you choose to respond to it. Hold yourself accountable for a positive response. Hold yourself accountable for your peace. Hold yourself accountable for your peace. That's literally it. Hold yourself accountable.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for, like I said, sharing your knowledge, your time, your expertise. And I am like feeling like energized now. Like, you know, we host these things and it's like, oh, we want to share this knowledge with the community. And I'm like, selfishly, I'm like getting all of this like goodness for myself too. So thank you both for what you're doing. And I hope that you will be intentional about protecting your peace and your joy as you move into the weekend. So thank you. And if you are interested in attending other Lunch and Learns or our After 5 speaker series, please visit our website and make sure you subscribe and check out our future events on our website. Thank you all, and be accountable to your peace and join the Addie app, and we'll put that in the description. So that release is June 26th. So please, please tell a friend, even if you don't feel like you need it. Please share because knowledge is power. So thank you all.
And thank you. Thank you for